Hello, ESPNs. Dungeons and Dragons classes are iconic, and yet there's one class that is simultaneously famous and infamous in the game's history. Depending on who you ask, it's a beloved staple and herald of a whole new magic system, or the reason behind the decline of the game and all it stands for. The Mystic has been missing from D&D since 3rd edition, and now it's back. It has just been released, and it's called the Psion. What is a Psion? What was a Mystic? Why did the Mystic fail? How is a Psion different from it? And most importantly, do I, a random YouTuber, like it? We're gonna go through the history of the class, its latest iterations, and we're gonna give you a new take on it that you can take home to your table for free in this brand new episode of D&D with a twist, Psion Edition. Psion is a class for people that pretended to have psychic powers as a kid for attention, and enjoyers of the best X-Man of all time. And whoever that one is. Psions are masters of psionics. Psionics is D&D's name for basically mind powers. Psionics are not magic, and people that care a whole lot about this distinction will launch 1,000 ships if you ever imply it is, or rather, they were not magic. That's right, big massive change for the Mystic is that the Psion is a spellcaster. The Psion casts magic through psionics, as in they use their massive wrinkly brains to cast magic through their mind powers. I'm quoting the actual UA article here. In 5th edition, psychic power is synonymous with magic, and the magic of the mind flavors numerous spells, monsters, and subclasses. So now, psionic is more of a filter through which people cast magic, which I love. Instead of being a completely different source of energy, now it's a way to cast magic. It gives the class a complete unique identity to other spellcasters, and it solves some massive issues. Remember that part, we're gonna talk about that later. So, where do these even come from? Why have we not gotten them in 5e? Trick question, we kinda have, maybe sorta. To understand the Mystic and how we got here, we gotta understand where they come from. So, a thing that even massive D&D nerds don't know about is that Mystic predates the Artificer when it comes to D&D classes. Gnomes are as old to the game as Mystics are, to give you a sense of perspective. So when were Mystics added to the Dragon game? Well, we have to go back to 1985. 1985. No, I wanna go with an actual 80s vibe. Can we go period accurate? Much better. In 1985, the basic set for D&D live service game got a new DLC microtransaction, to use period accurate terms, in the form of the Master Set. Added one new class to the game, the Mystic, and so its legend started. Is this 1st edition or 2nd edition? Trick question, neither. This is the basic set, which is separate from both and added to either depending on who you ask. I hate this. I choose to go with neither, as I believe the Mystic is a liminal class that can only exist in the limbo between editions, but you do you. Psionics themselves as a clearer concept were formalized in the complete Psionics handbook, but the bones of the Mystic were laid out even earlier. The year is now 1989, and the 2nd edition of D&D is here to continue to scare Middle America senseless because of the very valid concerns of demons. We're still under TSR, still in the equivalent of medieval times for D&D, and even if 2nd edition didn't introduce the Mystic and doesn't even have it as an option, 2nd edition is the edition I associate the most with psionics because of a certain setting. We do not have time to get into this, and you will not like what I have to say. Do not ask me to cover Dark Sun, you will be disappointed. Let's just stay friends instead, you don't need to know.
Let's stay playful together.
Even if 2nd edition didn't have mystics per se, it had plenty of mystic-shaped things. There was the Mentalist and the Psionicist, which is definitely not the Mystic, no siree. We flash forward to the year 2000. It's time for low-rise jeans, cargo pants, fears of a computer-fueled Y2K apocalypse, and the 3rd edition of Dungeons & Dragons, Flow 2000.
Flow 2000!
And with it comes the Mystic. The Mystic is a prestige class in 3rd edition. Prestige classes were like Pokemon evolutions of classes that relied on multi-classing and getting good at specific skills before you could actually get into the class. The Mystic require you to be good at spellcrafting, arcana, and religion, as well as have a bunch of metamagic adjacent feats. It was honestly closer to the Sorcerer. So not a true core class, but at least it's here with its actual name and in the actual books. We flash forward even more, and it's now 2008. Breaking Bad gives every man in the world a new show to berate you for not having watched. Zach Baggins definitely proves that ghosts are real several times on TV. Tabitha Coffee's accent and pixie cut co-starred alongside Tabitha Coffee in the first worldwide attack against all hairdressers ever. And the both unfairly and fairly maligned 4th edition of Dungeons & Dragons hits the scene. 4E is back to not having the Mystic, and yet it had a bunch of psionic stuff in its 3rd edition of the Player's Handbook. Yes, 3rd edition for the 4th edition. You know, to put current events with the 2024 books into perspective, 3rd edition asked you to buy the core books again only 3 years after releasing them for 3.5, and 4th edition had released the 3rd volume of the Player's Handbook literally 2 years after the original. The new editions of the core books we got for 5e came 10 years later. So, you know, it's good to have perspective on these things. Anyway, this 3rd volume of the PHB came chock full of psionic classes. None of them being the mystic, somehow, but one of them being, of all things, the monk. And so, yep, the monk was just that at some point. And so, we have arrived at current year. If you're keeping track, basic set had mystics, 2e didn't, 3e had mystics, 4e didn't, and by the rules of he loves me not, 5e should have it. And yet, it doesn't! Asterisk. Let's talk about it. The Mystic was released for 5e as an Unearthed Arcana article. Unearthed Arcana is not a final release, it's rather a, hey guys, look what I wrote release. What you're supposed to do as a consumer is read the Unearthed Arcana, and then you go complain on Reddit that you don't like it instead of filling the feedback survey. So, how was the Unearthed Arcana release? Well, we'll talk about it, but it was insane. It's the longest single article in Unearthed Arcana I have ever seen. I have not gone back to contrast this, so I can't say in history, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. This thing has 6 subclasses. Yes, 6. The Mystic's Unearthed Arcana is longer than, like, real core classes. There was a lot of love put into this. This was clearly at least one, probably many people's baby. So what happened? Well, it's a pretty safe bet to say that an Unearthed Arcana that doesn't see any updates a year after its publication is not getting an actual release. When was the Mystic's UA article released? Well, in 2017. So, you know, that's 8 years ago. So is that it? Is the Mystic over in 5e? Well, no. You see, the Mystic has appeared in 5e, yeah, in the 2024 version of the Monster Manual, page 262, a quote to go along with the Roper is attributed to X the Mystic. So, technically, Mystics are technically in official 5e books. X was not a Mystic, just a wizard, but you know, still technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. Oh god, X, the Mystic? Oh no. So, is that it? Is that all we get? Well, not quite. The closest iteration of the Mystic we have in 5e is Psionics, which have made their appearance and for once in the game's history have not come with like a 1,000-year-long complaining session. And it feels like a channel in-joke at this point to point out that everything introduced in Tasha was good, but yes, it wasn't Tasha. It wasn't Tasha again. Tasha introduced the concept of psionic subclasses for core classes, as in subclasses that use psionics. And people generally really like them. I mean, people love the soul knife. I did this for witches in my own book, gave witch subclasses to all the classes. I was inspired by the psionic subclasses. Go take a look-see if you want. I'll leave it in the description. So, what happened? What is in that ungodly long article that made it so that it got no follow-up and Wizards pivoted hard into a completely new direction with the psionic subclasses? Well, this video is on the Psion, not the Mystic, but I really do feel like you gotta understand what was in the 5e Mystic and why did it spend 8 years in Unearthed Arcana limbo until it was shot behind the shed to make room for the Psion. So, what was wrong with the Mystic? Well, many things. In 5e, the Mystic was massively complex. 1,000 choices, and then choices that influence other choices, and then more complexity on top of that, as a treat. And it didn't end there. The moment-to-moment gameplay was also filled with choices and stuff to keep track of. Auras, the 1,000 effects of each aura, the disciplines, a resource called Psypool that got up to the 70s, yes, 7-0, discipline actions, concentrating on discipline, and like 42 abilities you got at level 1.
Choices.
The Mystic did not ease you in. No, it wanted you to be Master Oogway from session 0. It was wild. So was that the problem? Was that all? No. That was the tip of the iceberg of the problem. In exchange for this massive effort, you got to play a god. The Mystic was extremely prone to being what we call a god build. Have you ever played an impossibly complex JRPG and been overwhelmed with the 1,000 choices available to you? So you check online to see what are the possible builds, only to find that everyone is the best when you make them one thing? I call this the Wyvern Lord problem.
Judgment is passed!
You're making me work!
And boy, were 5e Mystics Wyvern Lords. They could be anything. They could replace basically everyone in the game without trading anything for it. glass cannon, skill monkey, face of the party, the mystic could do it all. And could do all that without the dip into 7 different multi-classes and 22 feats song and dance. This puts classes out of a job, and then no one is happy. The mystic was sort of the AI of UA, if you will. And that was every problem. Moving on to the side. Just kidding, it isn't. So, psionics were not magic, they were their own thing, right? All these in the audience are vibrating as I say this. They know what's coming. Psionics are as intensely hated as they are beloved by D&D old heads. And it's for complicated, sometimes good, sometimes bad reasons. The Mystic adds psionics into the game, and psionics are not magic, but they work kinda like magic. But they don't. But yes, and that's because psionics, when you strip them down to game design terms, are just a magic system. D&D has one single magic system. It's called magic. You know, spell slots based on resting, components to cast, durations, casting times, etc. Psionics can't be this because then it would just be magic, but that means that this class needs to add a second magic system that only interacts with this class. And so, one magic system cannot deal with the other. Magic can be broken with Dispel Magic, or an anti-magic field, or with Counterspell, or by restraining the caster so they can't wiggle their fingers at you, or blinding them so they can see you. Silencing the caster also works, so that they can shut up for a second. There's many ways to deal with magic in D&D, because it's a magic system that is intrinsic to the game. Psionics though? Nope. None of those options work with psionics. None. Like, maybe blinding. The only restriction they have in common is concentration. And guess what? Just like normal magic, not all psionic abilities require concentration, and the Mystic's UA could concentrate on 2 things at once. Because psionics are just for the one class, the Mystic, they are not particularly integrated with the rest of the game, which means that there is no real way to stop anybody with spoon-bending powers to do anything they want. And that's what the Psion is a spellcaster. And that's also why that change is good, because while psionics have nothing wrong with them lore-wise, they have plenty of problems mechanically. One of the biggest ones was the lack of portable dimension to actually play the Mystic. You know, those nifty tables you can just plop down anywhere and summon a play space perfectly to play a Mystic? But Mystic UA didn't come with one. But you can have one with Tabletop Table. Need more table for your table? I love this thing. You know those insane tables with like an inlaid TV to play D&D on top of that cost like an arm and a leg? I can't get those, and chances are you can't either. Too expensive, don't ship to where you live or where I live, etc. So this is the perfect answer to that. It's basically a portable play space that makes it super easy to sit down and play D&D, board games, whatever else you play on top of a table, top, anywhere. It's lightweight, conceived to be portable, conceived to be useful at the table, and designed with tabletop in mind. You can even accessorize it for your specific needs with nifty little add-ons. You get 4 of these add-ons included with every table. It comes in 2 materials, the Hexlight, which is more lightweight, and the Relic, which is fancier. I love the lighter option because D&D picnic, D&D hiking, come on. And if you get it now, you get exclusive backer pricing. That's right, you get it for cheap if you grab it now. So if that sounds good, go ahead. It's the very first link in the description. Try to play a Psion on top of this thing. And speaking of the Psion, we now know why the Mystic spent 8 years in UA. We know its problems, we know its history, we know why we got a completely new version. Why don't we look at it? Is the new Psion good? Is it worth playing? Now that we finally have all the context for the first new class we've gotten in years, let me tell you about the Psion. And by me, I mean a human familiar. Human familiar? Psion class. Now, human familiar? Familiar. Has he run off again? God, I hate when he does this.
We should think about what we're going to do to promote Gen Con.
This is a Granny Spritz, right? I don't know if I got it right. That Gen Con panel thing.
Oh, this is good though. This is really good. The Granny Spritz. Are we forgetting something?
I told you to stop teleporting me! Hi. Okay, remember, this is not a final class, this is Unearthed Arcana. Unearthed Arcana is for playtesting, and we can only playtest if we give feedback. no, giving feedback is not complaining on Reddit. It's filling up the survey. We can do the complaining later for fun. So I'm gonna tell you the abilities, I'm gonna say what I think about them, and then you, if you want to, can give your own feedback in the feedback survey. I'll put it somewhere in the description. Or not, I guess. It doesn't matter to me. I'm neither Mr. Dungeon nor Mr. Dragon. If you don't want to give feedback, that's fine. They didn't pay me to get you to do it, but I think it's good to share your opinion on playtest stuff, and it gives you the right to complain later if they don't do the thing you wanted them to do. So remember, this is just the first step on a several step process to get to the final Psion. Means I'll have to redo this video in like a year. Anyway, the basics for the Psion. Let's go. These nerds have the lowest HP with a D6 as their hit dice, just like wizards and sorcerers. They really set full spellcaster with their whole chest. Intelligence is their primary ability, which means we get 3 classes now that use intelligence, 4 if you count the blood hunter. That means that intelligence is on par with wisdom in terms of classes that use it. Hooray, we did it! It only took us 10 years. And they don't get armor and just simple weapons. As I said, full spellcaster, nerd hours. That's it. Their signature ability is Psionic Power. This thing gives you not a pool of points like the sorcerer, but a pool of dice, kind of like Bardic Inspiration. Same dice progression as the new monk, which means you start with a D6 and you go up to a D12. These are called Psionic Energy Dice, which, oh boy, do I wish they called it Psionic Dice, because that is certainly much easier to say. For now, there's like 2 loose features that use it. Like, you have 2 of these here, and then later on, like 1 level later, you have a thing called Disciplines, and those new things are called Disciplines. But the thing you get at level 1 are not disciplines, and you don't get to pick, you just get 2. What I'm saying is that this is clunky. To me, this feels wonky in terms of naming, like just call it these disciplines too, maybe? I don't know. I think that like the problem is that you get to choose disciplines, but these 2 every Psion gets. Anyway, this is like a wording nitpick. Who cares? You get 2 of these. The first one is Telekinetic Propel, which lets you push minis quite far at the cost of 1 of your Psionic Energy dice. I like that Psion is already mogging on Wizardoids by basically using their bonus action, which wizards never do. You also get Telepathy with this, which I love the idea, but boy is it underwhelming as it is written. Why is it like that? You get 5 feet. 5 feet of telepathy. Message is a cantrip, and it has 120 feet of range. I understand it has other components, but really? 5 feet? But don't worry, you can expend one of your Psionic Energy dice to increase that range to 10 feet. Great. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but boy does this feel undertuned for the, quite frankly, kind of insane costs that it's asking you to do to extend the range by 5 feet to a total of 10. Also at level 1, you get an invisible mage hand, like the Arcane Trickster, so you can actually pretend to be telekinetic. Cool. Finally, level 2, you do get those Psionic Disciplines. These do get a name, and they also use your Psionic Energy dice. The other 2 that you get at level 1 are just things. Mysteriously unnamed things. The disciplines feel very, very similar to Warlock invocations and like vibes. You get to choose between a bunch of them, just like the Warlock invocations, and they do affect your playstyle quite a lot. A bunch trigger when you cast a spell of a specific school. Like if you have the discipline biofeedback, you get to spend one of your Psionic Energy dice to heal for an amount equal to the roll of your Psionic Energy dice every time you cast a Necromancy spell. Others feel even more Warlocky. There's one called Devilish Tongue, once again, very Warlock, that lets you add your Psionic Energy dice to the result of an Influence roll. That's 2024 for like Charisma checks. Charisma checks and Animal Handling, that's also an Influence one. It makes sense, but it's a funny way of thinking about it. I, as an Influencer, already have this one. There's stuff that makes you better at attack rolls, there's stuff that makes you better at being the face of the party, there's stuff that makes you better at being a nerd. It's all very customizable, very Build-A-Bear, very Warlock invocations. If you like character building, you're gonna have a good time. It's crunchy, definitely. It's not something that I would recommend for newbies, but if you like making up a guy mechanically, you're gonna like this. And all disciplines force you to use your Psionic Energy dice, which is what stops the Psion from being the god build that the old Mystic was, because there is a resource that you need to spend in order to do the thing that you want to do, which is good. But also, we'll come back to that. Also at level 2, you get Psionic Modes, which is the most unique feature of the Psion. Remember that. We previously got Bardic Inspo / Monk dice and Warlock invocations, but there's nothing in any D&D class that kind of works like this. Once again, remember that. As a bonus action, once again, really like that the Psion uses these. You get into a kind of fighting stance. I've used stuff like this in my own homebrew, and I love it. You can check out the Fighter Dragon that I did for Monster Week. That is very much this. So you can enter attack mode with a bonus action, which, guess, exactly. It goes in the square hole.
It goes in the square hole.
And makes you better at attacks. Makes it so you ignore psychic resistance, which is fantastic for a Psion, and you can reroll damage if you spend a psionic energy die. Conversely, on the other hand, defense mode makes you better at the square hole. You add your psionic die to saves that you fail. It's good. And you only get 2 uses of these per long rest, which, I don't know about that. Like, it kind of feels undertuned for the cost. You have 2 uses of this, and you have to use your psionic die a whole bunch. I don't know. At level 3, you get your subclass. I'm not gonna explain all of that. Oh, yes, you are. Right after this. At level 5... At level 5, you get Psionic Restoration, which is the Wizard's Arcane Recovery, but for Psionic dice instead. Psionic Energy dice. And you only get half of them, just like the Wizard's spell slots. At level 7, you get Psionic Search, which allows you to spend your hit dice. Cool. I love when abilities do that. I do that all the time. To get 1 use of your modes back. The whole attack mode, defense mode thing. I need to stop talking with my hands. Let me just sit on them for a second. Does this look weird? A little bit. It does look a little bit weird. Hi. Anyway, good. You only get 2 uses of those, and it's good that you get to recover them. This feels like, once again, slightly undertuned to me. Maybe you should get some psionic dice out of it? I don't know. Probably not. Don't listen to me. And then, from level 7, we jump all the way to level 19. Don't worry, they get more stuff with subclasses. Anyway, they get the 2020... They get the 2024 Epic Boon thing. It's like a fancy name for a pretty strong feat that all classes get at level 19. And finally, at level 20, the capstone, you get Enkindled Life Force. You spend 2 hit dice to add an extra 2 psionic energy dice, and you can add those extra rolls to anything that you would add a psionic energy dice to. It's fun, but it's costly. Maybe you can like choose to spend only 1 hit dice, so you can do only 1 extra die, or maybe like if you want to, 3 hit dice to do 3 extra energy, psychic, whatever dice. I feel like that would lead to the Psion being really, really good at going Nova, but it is level 20, so ultimately, who cares about balance? Overall, I really, really like the Psion's flavor. I think that the class identity is clear and distinct, which is really, really important. I also think that this is about 100 times better than the old Mystic. But welcome to a new segment, Antonio's opinion. I'm really scared of the psionic energy dice thing, like really, really scared. It feels like a ton, if not like nearly all features of the Psion rely on them. That smells a lot like the old monk, and it's one of those 2024 classes where you regain 1 use of that resource with a short rest, not all of them. Some classes in 2024 regain all uses and some only regain 1, and the Psion is one of the ones that only regains 1 little psionic energy dice thing. And like nearly every ability is asking you to consume them constantly. I don't know. Once again, this is just based on a close read, no actual game experience at the table, but I don't know, might be a problem. It feels really, really close to the old monk, and it's insane over reliance on key points. And the old monk could regenerate those faster than the Psion can, because the old monk got all key points all at the same time every short rest. Ultimately, I don't know, maybe a bit of a concern there, might be worth looking into, but I don't know, just spitballing here, but maybe a way to turn spell slots into psionic energy dice might fix that issue, or maybe making the Psion one of the ones that gets all of their psionic energy dice in one go every short rests. Also change that name. Jesus Christ, psionic energy dice is hard to say. But, 3 buts. I do have a bigger critique, and I think that this one is a much bigger problem. For as much as the Psion has a clear class identity lore-wise, flavor-wise, I really don't see it mechanically. Its mechanic identity is just not very present at all. Let me explain. Right now, it really 100% feels like the Psion is just like a collection of other classes' features all rolled into one class. It's sort of like a monk-sorcerer hybrid with like a spoonful of Warlock thrown in there for good measure. And I don't hate that. I certainly would rather play this than the Warlock, because I hate playing Warlocks. Watch my Warlock video somewhere. It's somewhere. But I don't know, man. Like, D&D is all about the class having one standout feature that no other class gets, and the Psion really doesn't have that. Like, Paladins get auras, no other class has that. Sorcerers get meta magic, no other class has that. Warlocks get their whole, like, cast at the highest level and Warlock invocations. I guess the Psion has that now. All other classes have their own very unique playstyle, except for Ranger. Maybe it's a common issue. Like, there truly isn't something here as flavorful mechanically as the Druid's Wild Shape. And you know how much I hate that, but you know, it's only for the Druid. Except there is. It's just really tiny, and it just doesn't get any focus. The Psion has the 2 modes thing, and I've used that I'm talking with my hands again. Whatever, just, I'm Hispanic. You gotta be okay with that. People are being mean in the comments. But I won't change myself. The Psion has the 2 modes, the whole like shifting fighting stance thing that no other class does, and I've used that same thing in subclasses and monsters because I really, really like it, and it does give like a whole layer of strategy to battles that no other class can play with. The problem with that is that it feels very tacked on. It doesn't feel like it's their main feature. No features interact with it other than like the very baseline thing of like you can get more of them if you spend a hit die. It's not like they get better over time. It's not like they evolve in any way. It's just like its own island of a feature that just like sits there. No one reading this would be like, oh, the Psion is all about changing modes. I really do think that it would make the Psion more of a distinct class mechanically. Like the Artificer's infusion with magical items and stuff like that, no other class can do that. It really makes it feel like an Artificer. I don't know if shifting modes gives Psion vibes, but at least it's unique. I just want that for the Psion. You know? I'll also change the name of the psionic energy die. Why waste time say lot word when few word do trick? Anyway, thanks for coming to Antonio's opinion. Wow, you did so good. Good job. I'm proud of you. Good familiar. You want me to do the subclasses because it's hard to find editing footage for those, right? Maybe? Subclasses. All right, since it's a new class, I'm gonna cover all of them, but don't get too excited. It's just one time. That's it, just today. So this video is already too long. I'm doing a fly overview. Let's go. First up, the Metamorph. This Psion uses the power of their mind to manipulate their body into a living weapon. That fruit looks familiar. Yep, I've done this concept before with the monk. The whole living weapon thing, modifying your body with your mind to turn it into a weapon. I did that in my monk video. It's for free in there, link below. By the way, this is not me saying anyone copied me. No one copied me. Living weapon is not a concept I invented in the slightest. Believe it or not, it has happened once or twice that 2 different people have had the same idea. Don't go embarrassing me by telling people that they copied me. Don't do that. I wouldn't be happy. And now in 2024 that the monk is like actually good to use, it's even more valuable now. Overall, the Metamorph is a really cool concept. Of course I would think so, but I see a massive issue with it. I really struggle to see how this concept would work with the Psion. The Psion has a D6 hit die and no armor at all. And this Metamorph thing is ostensibly a melee combatant. Yes, the class gives them weapons, reach, all that, but the amount of self-sustain is really, really small. I mean, sure, it gets Cure Wounds and the ability to cast it as a bonus action by spending the psionic energy dice thing again. And it does get 1 damage resistance for like 10 minutes. But I don't know, it still feels like super similar to the normal Psion. And I think that if you want to take a D6 hit dice class this far away from its current like baseline, you do have to do more. Even the Bladesinger, the wizard version of this, gives you more self-sustain and makes you tankier than this. And I don't even like the Bladesinger that much. Next up, the Psywarper. Psywarper wants you to think with portals. This is sort of like physics simulator, the subclass. This guy loves Misty Step. I think this is a very niche fantasy for players to embody. Like, I don't think that a lot of people want to be this, but I do get it. I do see the appeal. It's the whole like bamf in, bamf out, boom, can't catch me, I'm moving so fast. Ping pam boom, toma la casitos. I see the vision here. As a matter of fact, I wish they took more from the Eladrin. The Eladrin makes it so that when you Misty Step, an additional effect happens. Maybe going that way would be fun. Overall, it's not too strong, it's not too weak. It's a good middle ground. I like it. My only take is that it does feel like a weird choice for a core subclass. Like this feels like the subclass you make after making 7 Psion subclasses, not like 2. But I like it, it's good, even though it really locks you into spending your spell slots on Misty Step. It's cool though. Number 3rd in the voting,
I could not believe it.
the Psykinetic. Everyone loves puns. Here's a DPS boy. We gotta have one. It's big boy, big damage hours, the subclass. This one is big on like flinging stuff across the room, temper tantrum style, crushing people like a lot with the telekinetic crush spell. That's a new spell, including the UA, that is sort of the Psion's fireball that I really, really like. It's really cool. I would rather use that than fireball. And this subclass makes that spell better by like bypassing the save and making everyone slow in that range. It's really good. It's good for damage. It's fireball, but it's also good for battlefield control. It's really good. As I said, this is the blaster. This is the DPS focus. I keep saying DPS because no one knows what DPR is. This one, if I had to bet, this one feels like it's the one that is gonna get the least changes. It's really, really solid as it is. It's simple, clean, it all makes sense. But then you get to you also get a flying speed out of this? Sure, I mean, I get it with the Graviturge kind of vibe. And you get the flying speed while in attack mode. It even uses the modes more. Score! It also gets the shield spell. Not all Psions have it, and this one does, and that is gonna put it over the edge for a lot of people. This subclass is clearly the strongest and also my favorite by a mile, and I don't often go for blasters, so good job, really like him. I would 100% play at Graviturge. And finally, the Telepath. This one is sort of like, you know when you have a team of heroes and like one of them is like, my power is heart, and like 9 times out of 10, it's the girl, and you're just sitting there like, what kind of power is heart? This is that in subclass form. It's supporty, it's utility, it's the mercy.
Am I gonna be mercy? Am I gonna be
Don't use that. Do not. It's based on creating like a hub of telepathy that allows you to help everyone's saving throws. Also, while in this hub, they can use telepathy, talk with each other, talk about their feelings, talk about their boundaries, establish clear boundaries, work on their communication skills, and overall create an atmosphere of trust, openness, and mindfulness towards the feelings of others. This is the Psion that has gone to therapy. Telepath, more like empath. I thought we said we like puns. Okay, listen. I love support classes. I love support subclasses. It's what I prefer to play. My favorite class is Cleric, and then Bard. But unfortunately, in my opinion, the Telepath is sort of emblematic about a problem when designing support classes or support gameplay in general, where you make the support just a turret of support. You do nothing as a Telepath. You stand there. You are really good at standing there, and you do help out a lot with just your vibes, but that's really boring. It's useful, but it's also really boring. I think that a lot of game designers design support stuff only thinking of what it gives to other players and not like what it feels like to actually play support. The Telepath is a really good example of this because it gives a ton of support. It gives a ton of utility to the group. It's good, but the Telepath is absolutely not proactive with it. It just stands there. Just like the Psykinetic, it also empowers one of your modes, but it's the defense mode, which means you're just reacting to someone else doing something to you. You don't get to do something. You're just basically sitting there, being useful by existing, but just waiting to get hit, standing there. Unmenacingly. Your most active thing as a Telepath is that you're good at detect thoughts, which good. Not a combat thing though, and you are better at telepathy, like the thing that gives you like 5 feet of range as a normal Psion. Sure, I have to wonder if like normal Psion telepathy is that bad because this subclass exists, so that like this subclass has something to do. Once again, not a combat thing though. Oh, by the way, it extends the range of telepathy to 30 feet. To me, that should be the baseline, like for all Psions, and maybe this one gets like the 120 feet. Maybe that's too crazy, but it's certainly more than 10. Ultimately, I love the boons that this brings to the party, but I want those boons to come from like a proactive thing that the support player gets to do, not just stand there and look pretty. I guess if like your favorite part of D&D is being on your phone while other people get to do things, this is the subclass for you. But I want more fun support options for weirdos like me that like to play support. Good job, human familiar. You did it. You may go back to whatever an Angland is. So, you think you're leaving this video without a Pointy Hat exclusive? Think again. That's right, I want to try my hand at this. Since we're about to get a new class to play around with, what would a Pointy Hat Psion look like? I immediately want to put my money where my mouth is. If I want the Psion to feel different from all other classes, and the most different thing about the Psion is their modes, what about a subclass all about those modes? A subclass that really zeroes in on this completely unique aspect of the Psion that no other class does. But how? What's the lore? What could a Psion, someone that uses their mind to twist the arcane, go with fighting styles? Well, there are 2 modes, right? This is a mystic. There's this trope about using only a certain amount of your brain power. What if this is someone that has intentionally sort of fractured their mind in 2, dividing it in literally 2 modes to access completely new abilities? Let's go. Those who have dedicated themselves to psionics know that there's strength in focus, and none exemplify that focus better than the Polarist. The Psions that walk the path of the Polarist separate their minds in 2, treating them not like 2 halves of the same mind, but 2 unique Psions, each focused entirely on one area of study of psionics. Psions of Polarism will grow the garden of their minds separated by a fence, and they themselves can walk freely from one side to the other. But each of these gardens concentrate on completely unique expertises of the psionic arts, both those that apply to combat as well as those that don't. The way of the Polarist attracts Psions that enjoy a vast number of fields of study, but it also tends to attract many oddities and edge cases. It's not uncommon for masters of this field to exhibit different behaviors, likes and dislikes, and other quirks when focusing on one of the two halves that make up their whole. Cases of ongoing stable possessions have been known to take the path of the Polarist, with the host focusing on one field while the possessor focusing on the other. Stories of a twin that absorbed the other in the womb, finding a unique predisposition to walk the path of the Polarist, are not uncommon in this field. Far from shunning the unique nature of those most easily drawn to their way of psionics, the Polarists tend to embrace them, honing together the art of psionics in a way no other psion could. But I guess this is just for show. Polarists can't exist because mystics or psions are not SRD. They are not even anything, just UA. It would be crazy if someone did a whole subclass for a UA class that is gonna change a bunch. No one would do that. I didn't. Yes, the Polarist is free for you to pick up. Fan content. Cannot put this in a book ever, but what are you gonna do? I went a bit harder on it, just a smidge stronger than average for my stuff, just to test it out, so go check it out. Or, if you don't vibe with the UA, how about the other newest class? Check out my Artificer video. It's a Doctor subclass with the wildest game mechanic, and if you like non-core classes, Blood Hunters. I made a video on those, and that one is a tank. It's weird. They cry to tank. Have fun trying that out. Bye-bye. Mwah.